Hello Year 9, welcome to your second distance learning lesson. We're still looking at the topic B4. We've got a little thinking activity here at first. So this is an exam question and we've got types of respiration in human cells. That's important because we're not looking at yeast cells in this particular question. Aerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration, and we've got to draw two lines to match each of these things on the left with two of the things on the right, okay? So have a little think, maybe have a little discussion if there's someone to discuss with. Okay, now I'm going to match aerobic respiration with uses oxygen, and I'm going to match anaerobic respiration with produces lactic acid. Okay, that's what causes that burning sensation in our muscles. Okay, now last time we did our exercise and we should have created our graph comparing ourselves to somebody else. And this is just a quick recap to remind us what the three indicators of fitness are. So we said student B, fitter on all counts. Why? 1, lower resting heart rate. 2, lower heart rate when exercising, and it has to be the same exercise, same intensity, same period of time. So we said that running on a treadmill at a fixed speed on a fixed gradient was probably the best way to do that. And the third indicator, a shorter recovery time. So this person has recovered from this point here to this point, taking 4 minutes, whereas student A has gone from 6 to 14, so 14 minus 6, taken 8 minutes to recover, so twice the recovery time. Okay, title for today, how do we remove lactic acid? So books out, open up to the right page, how do we remove lactic acid? Everybody writing down the title, please. Try to make this as real time as possible so you don't have to keep pausing. Don't forget to write your date. I'm not going to say what the date is anymore in case I reuse the video. Okay, title should be written now. If you need to pause, pause now. So we're starting off with an exam question. We've got a couple of exam questions today, and we're also going to look at oxygen debt, which is how our muscles recover after building up that lactic acid. So first exam question then is a 4-marker. Some students investigated how exercise affects heart rate. There are other changes in the body during exercise, okay, apart from heart rate. Explain why these changes occur. Okay, so we're not looking at heart rate in our answer. Okay, there are other changes in the body during exercise. Explain why these changes occur. Now, some of these changes we talked about last lesson in my last video. There are some there as well that we haven't talked about yet. So think about what it's like. Maybe you've gone out of the house. A lot of people have started running. Maybe you think about what it was like when you did some running last and how your body reacted to it. Okay, it's a 4-marker. I'm not going to sit for 4 minutes, but you can write your bullet points and then you can pause me before I go through the mark scheme. Have a go. Don't just think, oh, well, the answers are going to come up soon. Have a go. Give it your best. Let's get the most out of these lessons that we can. Maybe you could think about temperature changes. Maybe you could think about breathing, that kind of thing, needing to cool down. Okay, give yourself 4 minutes total, and I'm going to go through the mark scheme next, so we need our green pens at the ready, but I'd like you to pause now to have your 4 minutes. Okay, here's the mark scheme. Hopefully you've given it a decent 4 minutes. You've written at least 4 bullet points, and let's get our green pens out. Okay, so we know that breathing rate increases, so it's faster and there's deeper breaths. That's to get more oxygen into the body and also to remove more carbon dioxide through breathing. Okay, so I've taken the changes here, breathing rate increases and deeper breathing, and that's to provide more oxygen and to remove carbon dioxide faster. We've also got body temperature increases. Okay, so sweating occurs, and that is to cool the body down. Okay, the sweat evaporates from the body, taking the heat with it, therefore leaving us cooler. So I've taken these points here. Temperature increases, sweating occurs, and that cools the body down by the evaporation of the sweat. And actually that would be enough for your 4 marks, but we could also talk about the increase in oxygen is to increase respiration for more energy, because more energy was transferred to the muscles. We've also got muscle fatigue, which is where it's different from lactic acid. Lactic acid hurts in our muscles while we're exercising. As soon as we stop exercising and the lactic acid is broken down, which is what we're talking about today, our muscles don't hurt anymore. But fatigue is when we've done lots and lots of exercise. Maybe we're getting involved in PE with Joe Wicks every morning. I know that's a popular one at the moment. And if you keep using your muscles, particularly if you're doing things like squats and stuff every day, you get really kind of fatigued muscles. And that's different from lactic acid. That's just overuse of muscles. We've got this word here, vasodilation. We haven't come across that word yet. We come across that one in year 10. So it's basically to do with blood vessels in hands and feet, becoming wider to allow more blood to flow, which helps to cool us down. But we couldn't have used that one yet because we're not familiar with that. Okay, any green pen you need to do, get done now. If you need to pause, then do that now. Okay, so removing lactic acid by oxidation. So we've got 2 ways that the lactic acid is removed. Okay, we are going to have to write notes from this entire page, so we need this whole page as notes in our books, please. You can listen to me and then pause it to write your notes, or you can be writing as I talk, I don't mind. So we said that we try to keep, when we're exercising, we try to keep our body in that anaerobic state, all of the muscles, all of the cells in anaerobic respiration. That's not true at all. Forgive me. We try to keep our muscles in aerobic respiration, the one with oxygen, because it's more efficient. And then our body goes into anaerobic respiration, which produces the lactic acid. Now, the lactic acid is toxic, it's poisonous to our cells, it's causing us pain. As soon as we stop exercising, we do the faster breathing, the deeper breathing, the heart rate's still going to move the oxygen, and it's all about how we get rid of the lactic acid. Now, some of the lactic acid goes to the liver, where it's converted back to glucose. Basically, if we can imagine taking a glucose molecule like this, break it in half, we've got some lactic acid. So the liver takes 2 bits of lactic acid and puts them back together to make glucose. So that's one way. The other way is oxygen debt. And this is, if you're in debt, it means you owe something, okay? So we owe oxygen here. Oxygen is owed to the cells. So oxygen debt is the amount of extra oxygen the body needs after exercise to react with all the accumulated, that's a big word, we just mean built up lactic acid, and remove it from the cells. So this is the amount of oxygen needed here to break down all of this lactic acid is called the oxygen debt. And depending on how much lactic acid we've built up, decides how much oxygen we need to get rid of all of it. Okay, so the word equation, no symbol equation for this one, just a word equation, and it's lactic acid plus oxygen makes carbon dioxide and water. And you'll notice that it's the carbon dioxide and water just like it was in aerobic respiration. And we're going to have a look at the end of the lesson how it's kind of like around the houses way of getting to the same point, okay? And we'll talk about that one in a bit. So make sure you've done all of your notes from that page. Okay, so some of that lactic acid is converted back to glucose, and then oxygen debt is the extra oxygen needed to get rid of all that lactic acid. Okay, if you need to pause, do so now. Okay, we've got another question here. This is a higher question, but I think we can all give it a go. Compare anaerobic respiration in yeast. Now, we looked at that just before, my group looked at it just before we left for distance learning. I think Sir's group haven't looked at that one yet, but you will come back to it at the end of the topic. So basically, yeast go through anaerobic respiration. It doesn't use the oxygen, just like anaerobic respiration in the muscles. It does use the glucose, and it's got two products. One is ethanol, used to make alcohol and alcoholic drinks, wines, beers, spirits. And the other one is carbon dioxide, which is used to make bread rise. Okay, so thinking about similarities and differences between anaerobic respiration in yeast, maybe what's used, what's produced, and anaerobic respiration in a muscle cell. Give you a few minutes to think about this. It's quite a difficult question, this one, okay? So maybe you could say a couple of ways that they are similar, maybe in what they use or what they don't use. Maybe you could say how they're different in what they produce. Okay, try and get 3 bullet points for 3 marks. Okay, if you need extra time, you've got 3 minutes, but I'm not going to wait for 3 minutes, so if you need extra time, pause now. Now, like I said before, you've really got to take the effort. When we do 6 markers and we do exam questions, please don't just skip them by, because you really won't get the most out of them. Really give them a go. Think about it. Get your green pen out. Okay, we're green penning now. Get your green pen out and let's make those answers even better. So, yeast produces ethanol, but muscles produce lactic acid. So that's a difference. Okay, yeast produces ethanol, muscles produce lactic acid. Yeast produces carbon dioxide, but muscles do not. Both release small amounts of energy because they're both quite inefficient. And I think you can also say both use glucose. Okay, so that's an extra mark that I'm adding on. Both use glucose. That's another similarity. Get your green penning done. I'll give you a second for that. Okay, time to move on. If you need to pause, pause now. Okay, this is our summary. Okay, nice quick one today. So we've talked about, this is kind of building up all of our ideas. We're one lesson away from the end of the topic. Okay, so next lesson we're talking about metabolism, and then we're going to go on to revision. So this is just kind of a summary, and I talked about it being a bit like going around the houses. So we've got our efficient aerobic respiration, glucose with plenty of oxygen making carbon dioxide and water and releasing that energy. And then we talked about anaerobic respiration with the lack of oxygen, just the glucose with the lactic acid being formed. And we said this was inefficient. But then if you take that lactic acid and you give it some more oxygen, the oxygen debt, after exercise, you get back to carbon dioxide and water again. And it's a good way of remembering that we've got the same products here and here. Okay, but like I say, this is kind of like the direct route, and this I call it the round the houses route. Okay, so last thing for you to write in your books today is that summary of putting those 3 ideas together. So I'll leave you some time to do that. Like I said, next lesson we're looking at metabolism, and then we're going to do some revision. Now I'm going to send some sheets for the revision on Show My Homework. My group, I gave you the sheets. Sir's group, I don't know if you've had the sheets yet, but I'll give you those sheets for a revision, and we'll go through, I'll send you the flashcards, and we'll go through revising using those sheets next week. Okay, so for this, well actually no, end of this week, Friday. And then we're going to do metabolism as our last lesson tomorrow. Okay, so that's the end of the lesson. Hope you found it useful. Hope it all made sense. If you need extra time to write this down, you can just press pause. Hope you have a good day. Try and make it varied. Get yourself doing lots of things. Stay active. Well done for keeping with it. And thank you.